well, you go talk to Lee. All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and work on getting started here. So if you want to grab your coffee and your cookie, whether or not you are at home or here at church, and grab a seat, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I want to just take half a second to speak to those of us who are online, joining us online. If you're still on the stream here, just a quick note that you just simply use the chat function, whether you're on Facebook or on the church streaming platform, to ask any questions, or also use that to vote. If there are multiple members on one device, please just indicate your names and how you vote on the chat. It should just be one vote, so that'll be very, very quick and easy. And again, if you have questions, go ahead and use that chat feature. Otherwise, that's our very, very brief technical orientation. And as we're finding seats here, I believe that it is my privilege for potentially the first time in one of these congregational meetings to invite Madam Chair Eileen up to officially start things up. So Eileen, Madam Chair, Queen Eileen, I don't know what are we calling her, but mostly I'm calling her embarrassed, and so that's my fault and my apologies. But yeah, Eileen, you're welcome to come on up and officially call things to order here.
Well, good morning. For those of you who have not met me, I'm Eileen Flagg, and I'm the current chair. You do not need to bow. There's no salam. It's just a title that I share as your leadership team chair. So this morning we're here for a very brief reason. Our primary goal is to vote on a motion to approve the partnership with Sapling Acres Preschool. 3 weeks ago, we had a meeting where there was a Q&A. I believe we've had a filled-up room. All the questions, I think, were answered to the best of my knowledge. So here, today, we're going to vote. So Brad is going to be giving, if he hasn't already, he's done the technical orientation for the vote. Right now, we're going to have Nate Manlove come up and do the relational covenant. Anytime we start a meeting, we always read the relational covenant.
Please join me in this reading. Jesus Christ, at the end of ministry, took time to pray for the church. His prayer, after all of his teaching, miracles, love, and mercy, was for our unity. The Apostle Paul, reinforcing that point, reminds us that we are one body, united under Christ. The church, put simply, is people who have committed to be unified through the transforming love of Jesus Christ. The people of MCC, with Christ as the center of our lives and our community, we are committed to living by faith, to being known by love, and being a voice of hope in all aspects of our lives. To live by faith, strive to be genuine followers of Jesus Christ. We will, by faith, trust that those with whom we interact are well-intentioned disciples of Jesus. When we inevitably come into conflict, our faith calls our communication, actions, and attitudes Christ-centered. To be known by love. To be a voice of hope. To outrageous hope. In our relationships with one another, we will listen and encourage while speaking honestly and humbly, constantly honoring one another, and trusting God is working through each person who is called by God's name. By making these commitments and living in community, it is our shared hope that we become a people united through the transforming love of Jesus Christ, shining as a beacon of hope to the world around us. Thank you.
It is time to take a vote. We want to make sure that we have a quorum. All those that are current members of MCC, if you could raise your hand. And I'm going to have Christina take a count, so keep your hand raised up. We have a quorum. The next section is the Sapling Acres Preschool Partnership, and Ken Cook is going to present Sapling Acres.
I wasn't quite sure I was going to be doing this, but Sapling Acres is currently a preschool in Sullivan. They've asked us to join with them in opening a preschool in this church. And there's been a lot of work by a number of people to bring that to fruition. First of all, I'll entertain any questions that anyone has. Doug?
Do we have an information about what our cost will be to make this happen?
I don't think our costs are going to be significant. We will have to, we're putting up a fence area. They are going to pay for the materials. They've received a grant that will allow them to pay for the materials. They haven't, as far as I know, they haven't gotten a check yet. I talked with Dave Page a minute ago, and they haven't gotten their check yet, and as soon as they do, they will do that. We also have to make a modification to what we used to call the Blue Room, which was, for those of you who've been here a while, that's the office that Kevin Cox used to use. It's the one on the far back side. That will have to have a bigger opening in it. So it's cutting some sheetrock and taking out some studs and finishing the opening. And that's really the only additional expense that the church will have to go through to add Sapling Acres. The income that we receive from Sapling Acres, the way that a contract is currently written, the first 2 months is $1,500 a month, the second 2 months is $2,000 a month, and from then on it would be $2,500 a month. But the term of the contract initial contract is for 6 months, which then can be readjusted based on what we will see as changes in our utility costs. If it exceeds 30% of what the previous costs have been, then we will be able to renegotiate that to a different amount.
Right now, we don't have a line item for what our increases are going to.
No, because we don't know what the difference in utility costs are going to be, and changes to the physical facility that's pretty minimal. The labor's free. Taking out that door or increasing the size of that door is not very much. It's essentially free. We're taking stuff out, and we'll have to buy a little trim, but that's about it.
Well, in other words, we're making an investment in our properties, but we don't know what our return on that investment will be.
No, we don't know what.
This is just money going here, there, and everywhere. It's turning into a business proposition, and those are the kind of things that.
Well, there's two things to keep in mind here. If we were a commercial landlord and we had property down on Main Street or another commercial facility, we would be working to see if we couldn't maximize our rent. That's not the total objective of the church. We want to be part of the community to enhance the use of this facility, and we're not trying to become the most, to raise the highest return on investment that we could possibly do because we own this property. There's other uses of this property that I think are also important to keep in mind. So this is what we've agreed to with Sapling Acres as far as the rent's concerned. That's what they believe that they can afford. And I think that's an amount that's quite fair to the church. Right now, we're not getting anywhere close to that amount. It's $2,500 a month versus zero, so it's a significantly improved financial picture for the church. The other aspect of this, and we'll leave this up to the finance committee, but some of that income that we'll get from the church, from the Sapling Acres, will also go towards increasing our depreciation reserves, because we'll have increased use of air conditioning in the summer or increased use of the heating system in the winter. And we'll probably have to paint that area of the building sooner than we normally would have. So there's going to be a percentage of the rental income that will actually go to depreciation, and then the remainder would go to operating expenses. But I would leave that up to the finance committee to determine how to divide that amount up.
Well, I understand, we're trying to do a good thing, I go along with that, that's nice, that we have the opportunity and the facility to do it,
Right.
not everybody that has that.
No, and this is an ideal facility. We already have an infant room that's set up to take care of babies. We have a toddler room that's already set up to take care of toddlers, and it's got the appropriate size toilets and all of those kinds of things for the little kids. Their hope is to get to the point that they max out at 32 kids, that's a significant number to take care of. There's not a lot of changes to the church. There's the Monadnock room, Jenna's office, what's currently the prayer room, and the storage room that's on that side of the building will not be available to Sapling Acres. The rest of the children's area would be available to them. And that's the way the lease is written.
Thank you.
Ken, is it planned for 3 days a week or 5 days a week?
5 days a week? It's 5 days a week. I think they intend to charge a slightly lower rate than the current Keene rates. They've indicated they're going to be charging $325 per child per week, and that's assuming a 5-day week. Debbie?
I was at the presentation and the couple listed the size of the number of kids per room, and I don't remember anything except the baby room. Could you refresh our memory on how many kids in the baby room, how many kids in the toddler room?
I just don't have those numbers. I'm sorry.
Because my question was, I guess, with a bunch of kids in cribs, they're not moving around, but how many kids in the toddler room could it handle that many kids? Somebody like Diane, who's been in that room, might have input.
I think there's certainly legal limitations on the number of, for instance, I don't think they can have more than 4 infants per employee in the infant room. So there's legal implications or requirements, regulations from the state that tells how many staff members they have to have for each group of kids. And they're intending to stick almost entirely with toddlers and infants. So they're unlikely to have anybody over like 4.5 years old. But how many staff members they have to have per age group, I don't know.
How many kids could you cram in the toddler room? The state also has per square foot for kids in each room,
Right,
so they can't put more kids in the state.
right. The state regulates that. Surprisingly, the state just about regulates how often they can blow their nose. It's really rigorous for a daycare center.
It is a total of 48 kids for the square footage.
Marion?
Will they be using our furniture, our furnishings, and who's going to be doing maintenance, cleaning of toilets, floors, and so forth.
The way the agreement's written up right now is at the end of Friday, they're responsible for cleaning the entire area. And that's including sanitizing all the toys. They will be bringing their own toys in, but they will also be using our toys. So that will be sanitized on Friday. The church's responsibility is to sanitize everything that we've used by Sunday night. So each party will come into the use of that area with a sanitized facility. So they're going to clean it, we're going to clean it. And both parties are responsible for doing that.
First say that I think that this is absolutely brilliant. I think so. You know how I would vote. Just the fact that this church is going to live out its mission with birth to 5, perhaps the most important age group from a developmental standpoint in our lives. All of us learn an incredible amount during that time frame. Also, it's a national crisis, certainly in the state of New Hampshire anyway. Child care and quality early child learning is it's very, very difficult to find, and it's a huge need. This church, by doing this, would be providing an enormous benefit to the community and to the parents, the working parents of this community, and of course in the lives of children that is going to matter for years and years and perhaps their entire lives. And so I think that's, again, I commend those who sought out this and have worked on this, because I think it's very exciting. The question I have is a little bit related to some of the questions that were asked before about spacing and so forth. So the developmental Department of Health and Human Services, with licensing and so forth, where are we in the area of having this building licensed for that program?
Well, we know what we have to do, which is a 6-foot doorway in what's called the blue room, and the fenced area outside. And Dave's already got the fenced area laid out. Materials after the vote today. It's going to depend mostly on how many people we can get to help. If we can get a pretty good crew together to help put that fence up, it won't take long to do. It could be easily done in a weekend without a problem. It's 2,500 square feet, so he's already got it pretty well laid out. The tear down of the area in the blue room that requires a 6-foot door, we're going to just cut a hole and frame it in, and we're not going to hang a door on it. That's a requirement from the state, because all the other rooms have 2 doors. The toddler room has a second door outside, so does the nursery. So from a fire perspective, having a second door that's a big enough door that everybody can get out of in that blue room when that's in use, that's a requirement. And those are the only things we haven't done. There was one other earlier requirement for CO2 detectors. That's been completed. So essentially, if we get that door done and the fence done, we're done as far as having this facility certified for Sapling Acres.
And they're set to start in May?
Pardon?
They're set to start in May?
Yeah.
That's their goal? All right.
Their goal is to start
Perfect.
May 1st.
Thank you.
Yep.
We don't know exactly when they are starting their operations. Their contractual agreement with us would tentatively be for May 1st, pending the outcome of our vote today.
Any other comments or questions?
Negotiations right now with Sapling Acres is for the first 3 months of their contract. We're looking at the first 3 months, they'd be paying $1,500.
2 months. The first 2 months is $1,500. The second two, the last contract that I saw. 'Cause
Okay.
we've been chasing, you and I and Brad and some others have been chasing revision to the contract, but the last one I saw was a 6-month contract the first 2 months at 1,500, the second 2 months at 2,000, and the final 2 months at 2,500. And that, at the end of that 6 months, we will be able to track what our changes in utility costs have been. And what the last one I read said that if that exceeded 30%, we would be able to negotiate on a higher rate than 2,500. But that's not a signed contract at this point.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Anything else? Steve? That's up to you.
The motion on the floor, hang on one second. Nate, do you have a comment?
There's some other important information contained on the slides that illustrate the importance, the financial importance of us considering this partnership. And if you'd like to speak to it, you can, or I can speak to that.
I hadn't even known the slide was up there.
Would you like me to speak to that one then?
I'd love to, because I didn't know that each slide was even up there. Somebody snuck that up on me.
So as Ken and as what we've talked about since the beginning of this process, this entire partnership was initially coming out of the desire or the need for financial assistance given our financial struggles in recent years. We also, over the last 18 months, did a lot of work collectively as a congregation to look at our vision. And one of the parts of our vision that's been so important for us is being able to reach out into our community. And so that obviously involves reaching out into our community, but it also involves using our resources to meet a community's needs. And so that's what we've been talking about. The financial concerns have increased, and we became aware of this in the last month and a half or so. And so our mortgage that we have with National Covenant Properties is a commercial loan. All commercial loans have 3-year interest rate adjustments that are built in. And so what you see up there is the terms of our loan. In February 2020, our loan, we had refinanced, and we had a loan of 5% for the first 3 years. Then the pandemic hit and created tremendous concern for all churches that National Covenant Properties finances. And so what they did across the board without even being asked in recognition of that pressure for churches was they adjusted everybody's interest rates to 4.25%. So that was obviously very helpful. This past March 1st was the 3-year date where our normal adjustment would occur. And that adjustment came in at 6%. From a percentage perspective, that doesn't look like a whole lot, but from an actual dollars amount over the course of the year, you can see that that results in an annual increase of slightly over $13,000. And so, just between you and I didn't sleep well that night when I found that out. So what you can see is that there's a bigger financial impact, and so one of the things that I think is important for us to think about is, and I know for me as we were talking about this potential partnership is, think about all that, what we can do with all that money. And I've become increasingly convinced over the last 5 years that God perhaps doesn't want us to be comfortable. Maybe He's more interested in us being faithful. And being faithful that He is providing for us in ways that we need, maybe not necessarily ways that we imagine. And so as that's happening, we're also coming today with the opportunity to do this partnership. And what we do know is that the funds that we could generate with this partnership would allow us to cover the additional cost of utilities. That was a question that was asked earlier on. The finance team is aware of those costs. We've been working up some formulas to be able to predict what those costs would be. This partnership would also allow us to add to our depreciation fund, which has been talked about before, which is long overdue. That depreciation fund has been depleted in an alarming amount over the last few years for good reasons. We have a new roof. That's a very good reason. But that fund has been depleted. And then the last part is that this partnership could allow us to absorb, if not all, it could allow us to absorb a substantial part of that rate increase adjustment. And so that's an important piece of information that we as a congregation need to consider as we take a vote on this matter.
I didn't know that was up there, and thank you for sharing that, because I had not realized that we'd had that rate increase, which 6% doesn't sound like too much, but it's over $1,000 a month. So it's an important number for the church. Any other questions? We have a motion from Steve. Do we have a second? Second by Ron. You have a slide? Okay. I will let you take care of the rest of it.
So currently, the motion for vote is the leadership team, upon recommendation from the group negotiating with Sapling Acres, makes a motion to allow the leadership chair or their designee to sign an initial 6-month contract with Sapling Acres Preschool for the terms presented at today's meeting. And that motion is made by Steve and seconded by Ron. Are there any discussions, any questions? Nate?
Just a point of clarification in terms of the terms that we've been discussing with Sapling Acres, and I just clarified this with Ken, is our conversations with Sapling Acres have been for the first 3 months, the number is 1,500. I know we've gone back and forth in the information we've presented to you. So the first 3 months are 1,500. The second 3 months are the 2,000. We're only doing the 6-month contract. And then we would be adjusting, and it would be to no less than 2,500 for a longer contract. And just think it's important that we're aware that those are the figures and that we'd be voting on today.
There's a number of people who've been working with Sapling Acres and drawing up contracts, and I probably missed the latest revision.
You don't have the latest revision.
I'm sure I don't have the latest revision.
You've got 2 little tweaks on the agreement, and it'll be ready to go, and you'll have the most recent one.
Mention that we are working with NCP on the contract. We're not making this up ourselves. They do this kind of thing. So we are working with Rob Hall, et cetera, at NCP. So this is all going to be nice and professional, not something that we scratched up on a napkin.
Okay, with the motion being made, are we still doing a paper vote? We are doing a paper ballot. This is going to allow the people that are online to vote as well. Well, thank you for taking it easy on me for my first meeting. Oh, the Queen thanks you. look so different from this point of view. I usually see the backs of your heads.
You didn't know how pretty we are.
Much better. In getting ready for the meeting, I was looking at the Robert's Rules of Orders. And the people that collect the votes or the ballots and count them are called tellers. So it's not just a banking term. Okay. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. So there's one last thing on our agenda today. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn? Motion made and seconded. One thing.
We now have a fence to build, and we need help. They need help. So those who can help need to get a hold of him and volunteers immediately.
So anybody who has any construction ability of any kind, if you can swing a hammer, dig a hole, come see Dave. He's looking for help.
What level of skill are you looking for here?
We can teach you anything. We are an equal opportunity church. Any other questions? All right. Everybody, thank you for your time today. Enjoy your week.